Easy to forget you were traveling on what amounted to a floating city. The interior resembled a grand manor house with gorgeous oak paneling lining the walls and plush carpet beneath our feet. We moved toward the grand first-class staircase at the front of the ship, one of two such staircases, and my eye was immediately drawn upward toward the glass dome arching overhead, allowing light to filter in and illuminate the area. The rich wood balustrades framing the space were accented with intricate bronze and iron scrollwork, and the heavy oak banister was smooth beneath my hand as we descended one level to the B deck. 3 elevators were available to take passengers to the various decks below, but I doubted I would be using them. I preferred to soak in the beautiful decor, like the elegant clock bordered by a handsomely carved panel on the opposite wall. We didn't have far to travel to our cabin, where Redvers produced a key and opened the door to our suite. Through the connecting door, I could see that both of our trunks had been delivered and set up in the adjoining bedroom. I paused inside the doorway, letting my senses soak up the richness of the room. A small desk occupied one corner, beside what I could only assume was a false fireplace, with an elaborate oval mirror hanging above the carved wooden mantel. I eyed the mirror with some reservation. I hoped it was firmly secured to the wall, since in the event of a squall it could do some serious damage to any occupants of the room. 2 windows with gray silk curtains framed the fireplace, letting in more light than I would have imagined possible on board a ship. A modest table was positioned to one side, with several seats pushed in, and the rest of the space was occupied by 2 comfortably upholstered chairs. The walls were paneled in oak, with tastefully decorative molding framing out spaces on the walls. All in all, it was a small space, but every inch of it was used well, and far more spacious than I had anticipated. My eyes flicked toward the bedroom, and the reality of our traveling arrangements began to set in now that we were alone in our quarters. Together. Are you absolutely sure we need to travel as husband and wife? Redvers' eyes lit with a teasing light. Is the idea of being alone with me so repulsive? He knew very well that it was not, but I was glad he had left the marriage issue alone. Even pretending wedlock was a touchy subject for me, due to my disastrous marriage to the late Grant Stanley. Well, I'm not physically ill at the thought, but these are rather close quarters. A small smile played on his lips, but then he quashed it. It's rather late now to change our minds, and it really will be easier if we play the part of a married couple on board. There will be fewer questions about us spending so much time together that way. He was correct there, at least. We had discussed the situation at length when I agreed to help Redvers with this investigation. Ultimately, I'd agreed to the plan, since a married man traveling with his wife was much less conspicuous than a single man traveling alone, or a single woman, for that matter. Of course, we had kept the entire matter from my aunt, who believed that we were occupying separate cabins for this trip. What Millie didn't know wouldn't hurt her. Redvers cleared his throat and clasped his hands behind him. And I'll be sleeping out here in the sitting room, so you needn't worry about that. Oh, was all I could muster. I eyed the 2 upholstered chairs and glanced back at Redvers. I wondered how he planned to make things work. The man was far too tall to do anything but sleep on the floor out here, and I was struck with a pang of guilt. He was attempting to protect me and prove himself as a gentleman, but it wasn't necessarily Redvers I was worried about. The more time I spent alone with him, the more I found myself rethinking my hardline stance on never marrying again, despite my terrible past experience. Plus the man kissed like heaven. No, Redvers wasn't the one I was worried about. We were interrupted by a knock at the door, and Redvers went to meet with the steward who had come to introduce himself. While they spoke, I wandered about, inspecting the rest of the suite we had been assigned. The bedroom attached to our sitting room had a double bed along one wall, with a brass sconce overhead for reading. A small table and chair occupied the corner near the window, while yet another door led to the attached private bathroom. The bedroom walls were lined in a rich damask silk with decorative wood insets.